first house is 1/3 of the fire-ruled houses in astrology. The first house is ruled by Aries, the fifth house is ruled by Leo, and the ninth house is ruled by Sagittarius. All fire houses represent the willpower given to us and how we make use of our energy. Expression, discovery, and expansion are some of the pursuits that can be revealed in houses 1, 5, and 9. The first house starts the journey in finding our purpose in this life. Not only is it the start, but a pre-scheduled route to the challenges and triumphs we will endure. The biggest task is what happens on your journey is a result of your own decisions. There will obviously be other people, environments, and circumstances that play a significant role, but ultimately, the first house is the invisible mirror we hold up to ourselves at the end of each day. Did you succeed? Could you have done more? Or are you even doing the right thing? Are some of the questions that surface when it comes to this house. The first house is considered a cardinal house, so what we create is expected to have a significant impact on ourselves or this world. All right, welcome back. Let's kick this presentation off with the sign of Aries. As always, I have a light side and a dark side. The light side is the positive attributes of Aries, and the dark side is not the bad attributes, but it's the side where it needs awareness, or it could be improved on, attributes that need a little improvement. I would never say any attributes of any sign are particularly bad, just to be clear about that. So, starting off on the light side, assertive. Aries are known for going for what they want. Leadership, management, coaches. Every decision they make is with confidence, with boldness. They're very intentional. They're very clear about how they address people. They're clear with their correction. Selflessness. Aries are always doing things and considering others. If they win, they want their team to win. If they succeed, they want others to succeed as well. Where I give this a safety cone is they can't ever tell anyone no. So unfortunately, people don't appreciate their value sometimes, or others do not reciprocate the support that they've given to them. Ambitious. What Aries do we know is not ambitious? They keep trying no matter what and how many failed attempts. They give everything that they've got. They can climb the ladders of success based on willpower alone, their determination alone. I have listed here that they're excellent number 1s and 2s. And the reason being is, as I've mentioned, they could be great leaders, great managers. So that makes them excellent number 1s. But because they're so coachable as well, you can give them the football, they'll run with it. They're going to make that touchdown. If you give them an assignment, you give them a task, they don't turn it down. Think of general managers in a restaurant. A lot of the time, you don't even particularly see the owner of that restaurant, but that general manager seems to know the restaurant like the back of their hand. They're there every single night, talking to the patrons, making sure the staff is okay. This is very Aryan energy. And lastly, on the light side, I have brave. They stick up for others, of course. They literally can risk their lives to save someone else. These are generals in wars. These are when captains go down with the ship. As I've mentioned, they can accept the hardest task, always willing to accept responsibility, even if it isn't their fault. If they're somehow involved, if it is their team that's screwing up or someone that they know that they're affiliated with that's making a mistake, they're never the sign that will say, hey, this had nothing to do with me. I'm not really sure what's going on. Coming over to the dark side, aggressive. Now, with all of this determination and ambition that they have, of course, sometimes it does come off as aggressive. So being intimidating, unfortunately scaring people off or being off-putting, this is definitely Aryan energy. Reading others incorrectly. So having a lack of awareness and not understanding or not noticing that some people may feel uncomfortable or maybe they're doing too much at the moment. Just being also reactive to every single thing. Huge Aryan trait. This is very noticeable in the Aries ascendant. Impulsivity, speaking or acting without thinking. Short attention spans. Starting projects without proper planning. This is very Aryan energy. They can energetically and physically tire out others. Being self-centered. They can trample over others while on their pursuits. They can also have a lack of consideration for other people or their pace. Arians have a thing, or Aries have a thing with not liking weakness or not really being able to tolerate weakness in others. So sometimes if someone doesn't work at the speed or diligence that they work, they kind of look down on them. I don't want to say they don't respect them, but they don't put them in a pretty high ranking. The reason why I give this a safety cone for actually being good as well is because although they may censor themselves, the people that surround them are people that really depend on them. They're as valuable as they carry themselves to be. Even though their approach is tough, they will help the people that surround them. And lastly, I have reckless. Think testing boundaries, pushing limits. I have inviting too many energies around them without a filter, having too much fun. They can also be extremely accident prone, from minor cuts to major injuries. The traits I have listed are certainly seen in the first house. It's about you, and no one knows yourself better than you. Will you admit these things you know? Will you embrace them? Will you use it for manipulation? Or do you really want to help others? Aries executes these actions in the most noticeable ways. It's very important to remember that although the sign of Aries doesn't take the gentle approach in handling duties, it doesn't mean the approach is intended to harm as well. It's just the will to act. And the first house will clearly define how you act during chaos, how you act during peace, and how you act to others. The sign of Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is the natural atmosphere of the first house. So this means that this house will involve or heavily influence our personality, our physical details, and how we are identified by others. So here I have a simple description of Mars, some astro facts on the planet Mars, and my astro interpretation. So Mars, as I've mentioned, rules over the sign of Aries and Scorpio. A complete daily rotation is similar to Earth. It's a little over 24 hours. A complete orbit around the sun is about 687 days. The energy of Mars is masculine. Mars is friends with the sun, moon, and Jupiter. Mars is equal with Venus and Saturn, and Mars is enemies with Mercury. This simply means that if any of the planets are in close proximity, in opposition, aspecting, or in conjunction with Mars, there can be an effect on how the planets perform, whether it's positive, negative, or both. Mars represents our aggression, our desires, our ambition, and our passion. So I have a couple of astro facts here. The red color of Mars is attributed to the iron in the dirt when it oxidizes or when it rusts. There is always a part of Mars that's in shadow. If anyone has ever seen actual photos of Mars, it always seems to be dark on one end. The only time we can actually get our best look at Mars is when it's actually in opposition with Earth. Also, in those same photos that you may have seen of Mars, there are certain areas where it actually seems more darker than the other, and that is because of the severe dust storms that Mars actually has. It covers extensive areas of the planet, and it can last for weeks. It can last months. They're not toxic, but they're extremely intense. My astro interpretation of how Mars represents itself is through our aggression. When it's managed, it's very necessary, but when it's uncontrollable, it can be very destructive. Also, there is a lot of confusion in attributing Mars as a husband in astrology. That role actually belongs to Jupiter. Mars actually is the attributes that we find appealing in others: confidence, sensuality, mysteriousness. Also, a lot of the attention Mars receives is due to the beautiful red color it exudes, and that color represents the passion inside of all of us. And of course, our passions vary. Unlike the 8th house, where Mars actually has someone to battle, in the 1st house, the primary person you are at war with is yourself. The Aryan energy of Mars makes the battles circumstantial, whereas in the 8th house, it's more about choice. The 1st house under the influence of Mars means life isn't easy. It also doesn't mean that it's going to be extremely hard, but there is definitely going to be a course that you have to take where it feels like one obstacle after the other. The 1st house is also about our defense. We are fighting or defending ourselves because we have to. It is part of our life's lesson. So now that we've gone over the sign of Aries and the ruling planet of Aries in the first house, which is Mars, I would like to go over what you can expect in the first house. So I like to call this the common first house. So starting off, your ascendant sign. Your ascendant sign was the zodiac sign that was rising on the east during the time of your birth, hence why we also call it your rising sign. Western charts always display the ascendant sign in the first house of a birth chart, and this is because it relates to your self identity. When you look at Vedic charts, you will see it in the particular sign's house, but nonetheless, it is centered in the middle of the birth chart. It's going to be the house that truly displays your base disposition. My disposition, as I've mentioned, my reality, my dedicated on my scheduled life path. Knowing someone's ascendant sign will tell you such a substantial amount of that person and how the trajectory of their life is going to go. This is why it's considered the scheduled life path, because you basically can follow the route of the energy of the following houses just by knowing the person's ascendant sign. Continuing on, how I come off to others, this is all seen in the first house. My life series of events and encounters. The self. This has a lot to do with how your physical appearance is going to be displayed. Are you going to be very tall? Are you going to have large teeth, protruding eyes? This is centered around your physical appearance and how certain attributes on you are going to be a clear distinction of your ascendant sign. Coming into this world, many of us don't know that actually how you were born and came into this world and the long process your mom may have been in labor or complications during the time of your birth all plays a part in distinguishing what your ascendant sign is going to be. Purpose. My opinion of myself, as I've mentioned, my physical appearance. So particularly people with Saturnian ascendants are tall, Aquarius ascendant, Capricorn ascendant. People with a lot of Jupiter in their chart are particularly poised in their first house, struggle with their weight. People with a lot of Mars in their chart may have protruding eyes or large teeth, top teeth, bigger foreheads. This is all seen in the first house. Features that define power. This is definitely distinguished in the first house. Independence. My decisions, my choices, creating a lane for myself is seen in the first house. My contribution to the world is seen in the first house. Being self-made, definitely seen in the first house. Improving my awareness, coming from the darkness to the light. Experience, being entry level or a novice, learning new things, trying new things out, new experiences, gaining experience. Your life experience, this is all seen in the first house. How other people experience me is seen in the first house. We give a lot of credit to our sun sign, reason being so many of us are inexperienced when it comes to astrology. So a lot of us believe that our sun sign is the end all be all when it comes to defining who we are. And this is why when you find out someone's ascendant sign, they seem to align more with the behaviors and the attributes and the personality traits and even the physical appearance, as I've mentioned, of the ascendant sign much more than they do of the sun sign. Visible objects, physical comforts, home, cars, clothes, things that distinguish you when people see you, aesthetics, perfumes, colognes, and lastly, strategies, the way that I approach my problem solving or my resolutions, positive thinking, limiting distractions, staying focused, completing assignments, honoring my commitments, and being honest with myself. These are all seen in the first house. So now that we've gone over the common first house, I would like to go over the complex first house. Every house has a not so nice or needs improvement or dark side or needs to be worked on side. So starting off, I like to call this combat. Much of the first house has a lot to do with your interactions with others and how they're dealing with you, how you're dealing with them, but most importantly, how you're relying on them and how people rely on you. So learning to have tact is something that can be seen in the first house. Struggling to rely on others, doing everything on your own. Having a lack of faith in others is seen in the first house. Not respecting others, not making others a priority is seen here as well. Ego, this is a big one. Having arrogance. Speaking first, getting the last word in is seen in the first house. Resistance and apologizing, resistance and showing vulnerability. Falling on your own sword is definitely seen in the first house. Self destruction, dependence, relying too much on others, cannot control your resources. And what I mean by this is overspending, having a problem with time management, giving bare minimum results, being a reactive worker instead of a proactive worker. This is seen in the first house. Staying as an employee instead of challenging yourself. This is seen in the first house as well. If we follow the natural trajectory of your ascendant sign, you may find out that you, in your house of work or in your house of profession, you will see that you will always bump into authority figures that are never going to allow you to reach your true potential. It could be through jealousy, just putting up certain blockages. It will cause you to question yourself, but most importantly, it'll keep you distracted in handling other people's responsibilities instead of challenging yourself to be that wonderful or potential business owner or entrepreneur that you can be. Lack of experience, lack of training, not polishing my skills, always falling off track, frequent mistakes. This is all seen in the first house. Unwilling to try new things, being uncoachable. This is a big one. This is seen in the first house. I like to call this wasteful objects. Impulsive buying, as I've mentioned, overspending, buying homes or cars or clothes you cannot afford, and simply because you are trying to gain a specific attention in society, or again, we're trying to manipulate how we're coming off to others versus what is actually being seen. And lastly, improvising, negative thinking, pessimistic thinking, being easily distracted, failing to honor your commitments, lying to myself, starting projects and not finishing them. This is all seen in the first house. So what does a healthy first house look like? I like to call this the first house potential. This is just general advice to help strengthen your first house or improve your first house. So the first one I have here is getting a birth chart reading from an experienced astrologer. Assistance in helping to charter your course and having awareness on some of the obstacles you will encounter not only helps you with being prepared, but it helps you with your acceptance or coming to terms with things. For example, a thorough chart reading can encourage you to become an entrepreneur. Identifying what activates and agitates your ego. Although you're born the way you are and may have some personality traits that are unchangeable, you can manage your ego. Many of us are born with big and bold personalities, and many of us have sensitive personalities. Nevertheless, there's always a trigger somewhere that can have negative lasting effects on society. So trying to keep your ego in check is encouraged. Moving in silence. The first house is the self on display, our disposition, things about us that cannot be ignored. So with that being said, there is some level of scrutinization from society. While collaboration may be encouraged for some to help with their self-development, it's always good to have a little something of yours that you have created for yourself or you have dominion over that highlights the independence in you. And lastly, being fully aware with how you come across to others. This is a big one. When our personality comes front and center, many of us do not like to accept or admit that we are aggressive, we're critical, or we possess attributes that are intimidating to others. Whether it's a good quality or one in need of improvement, the first step is acknowledgement before we begin to improve ourselves. And once we do, we can discover if these distinguished traits are beneficial or not before we consider how it makes everyone else feel. And we've reached the end of this presentation. Before I conclude, I would like to quickly summarize the opposing house of the first house, which is the seventh house. And I like to call this residuals in the seventh house. These are some of the things that can surface in the seventh house or house of partnerships. So the first one I have here is being partnered with your shadow side. And this is simply having a long-term commitment with someone who mirrors your not-so-nice side. Having to do more for someone else than they can reciprocate. The seventh house begins our interdependence on others. It also brings awareness in our selfishness. Discovering how codependent you are or unprepared for partnership. This could be partnering with someone who may be more self sufficient or more established than you. And how are you handling that? Do you feel inadequate? Does this person bring awareness to how dependent you are? And lastly, I have seeking relationships based off of superficiality. The seventh house can show what we're looking for in relationships versus what we need. And that can sometimes be us focusing on the exterior of the individual, such as looks and finances for stability, instead of a person with a stable mind or a stable routine. I would like to thank everyone for taking the time out to watch this presentation, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.